Thank you so much for the blessings that you have given us here, and give thanks to you and your Son, Jesus Christ, in His holy name. Amen. Yeah, Jeff couldn't be here this morning. He's kind of finished up the series that he's doing, so I'm just throwing one in the middle here, a little bit different. Some might say we're a little late for this, but listening to the news headlines this morning, I'm right on the spot. We're going to talk a little bit about the sanctity of life. On the way over, heard this morning how the Planned Parenthood, those pro-abortion, those who are against abortion and everything, they just are shouting and hollering at each other like they're mad at each other, demonstrating all over the country. This seems to be the year of demonstrations, for one thing and another. We're a little bit in Proverbs and a little bit in Exodus. And we're going to combine Exodus and Proverbs. And the first thing we'll know right here, we learn in Proverbs, well, let's take a look at Proverbs. I believe it's 1:7. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That's basically what we're going to learn here. And we learned that the midwives that were told to, yes, Proverbs 1:7, fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Now, what we have found that many Christians have just kind of become complacent. And they go with the world's wisdom and decided in favor of abortion because they feel like, hey, these people are smarter than I am. Now, I'm going to have to confess, at one time in my life when abortion first came to the issue, I really didn't know a lot about it. I knew it was getting rid of a life or not, someone not having a baby. Well, I'd seen a lot of kids out there as unwanted, and I come from, well, then I found out that life begins at conception and that this was a life. When I realized this is life, I became adamantly opposed to abortion. The commandment says, thou shalt do no murder. Murder is thinking about going through with the termination of a life, a killing. That's all it boils down to. So yes, I'm really against, I'm in favor of life. Let's just put it that way. I believe everyone in here is also. Mm-hmm. But we in the church bear a lot of responsibility for what has happened over the last 4+ decades since Roe v. Wade took place. And abortion was declared legal in this country. Should be illegal. It may be legal, but it is not right. There's a difference between legal and right. And I think we'll all agree with that. And sometimes we have to use our wisdom to determine which it is. But when I say we are responsible, as a church, I'm speaking nationwide right now, not this one church here or any one church in the community, but the church has failed to take an appropriate stand against things that are wrong all too often. We kind of draw in, well, I don't want to get beat up. I don't want to get hollered at. I don't want to be. So we step back a lot of times and let the world rule us. We need to be here setting an example and setting a standard for the world, not the world setting the standard for us. So a lot of times, yes, we the church are responsible for the problems we have today for not standing up where we should. In Roe v. Wade, back in 1973, abortion was technically made legal by the Supreme Court of the United States. Today, well, it's dropped a little bit, but immediately after that, for about 3 decades, it has fallen off a little bit. 1 in 3 pregnancies were terminated. That's a 1/3 fatality rate. Our soldiers invading the Omaha Bridge, Normandy, did not suffer that rate of casualties on the D-Day invasion. We never saw that rate of casualties anywhere in Vietnam, the Gulf War. Even when the Pharaoh ordered the killing of all baby boys in Egypt in Moses' time, they did not suffer that rate. 1 in 3. Have you thought about that? Look like 1 in 3 is absent today. In Exodus 1, we of course find here where Joseph had already gone to Egypt and become second command from the Pharaoh, and through his efforts, he had saved the Egyptian nation through the famines by his dreams that he had saw and placed in there. He brought his father and his brothers to Egypt, and they settled in there. The Pharaoh gave them good, fertile land to stay there. Now Joseph and all his brothers and great generations had died, but the Israelites were exceedingly fruitful. They multiplied greatly, increasing in numbers, and became numerous in the land that they were filled with. The new king, who knew Joseph not, came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites are becoming too numerous for us. Come, we must deal with this severely. With them, he became everyone numerous that if war breaks out, they will join our enemy and fight against us, and they'll lose the country. So they put the slave masters over them, opposed them, and forced labor. They built Pittman, Ramesses, and other cities for the Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, and the more they multiplied and spread. So Egyptians came to dread the Israelites and made their lives bitter, harsh labor, brick and mortar making, with all kinds of work in the fields and all their harsh labor. The Egyptians worked them ruthlessly. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, and their names are Sapphira and Puah, when you are helping Hebrew women during childbirth on delivery stool, you see that it is a baby boy, kill him. But if it's a girl, let her live. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt told them to do, and let the boys live. The king of Egypt summons the midwives and asked them, why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live? The midwives answered, Pharaoh, the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive. So God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased in number and became more numerous. And because the midwives had feared God, he gave them families of their own. The Pharaoh gave this order to the people: every Hebrew boy that is born must be thrown into the Nile, but let every girl live. Chapter 2, a man of Levi married a Levite woman, and he became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw this is a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could not hide him any longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds on the banks of the Nile. His sister stood at the distance to see what would happen to him. The Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank and saw the basket among the reeds and sent for her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw a baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This one was a Hebrew baby, she said. We all know the story most, but what has happened here is more than what you see here. As the Egyptians were looking at the Israelites increasing in their homeland, the Pharaoh was afraid their number had become so large that if an enemy from the outside invaded, they would join with the enemy and could easily overthrow the Egyptian government. So just out of fear, he decided, well, let's get rid of the boys. That way they cannot put an army together. Less males, less soldiers. Two of the main midwives there, he spoke with them about delivering the children. But no, go back to Proverbs here. And we see fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And they had fear of the Lord, the word tells us. And the Lord rewarded them by giving them families. It says in one version, houses, which means families. As they grew, and in their own right, they grew and increased. But more that the Egyptians oppressed the Israelites, the more they grew. They increased continually in number and grew to a large number. We know when they finally left Egypt, is over 3 million of them that Moses led out. Now, as we come to the birth of Moses, or it says here a child. Actually, the Pharaoh's daughter's the one that named him Moses. When well, let's go right here to this. The Bible confirms and affirms over a life is precious. In Luke 18:15 and Luke 1:41, the same word is used for baby there in both cases. In 18:15, you see, they brought their babies to Jesus, and the disciples got a little upset about that. Jesus said, "Suffer the children not, let them come unto me." You go back at 1:41, and it tells there, when Mary showed up at Elizabeth's house, the baby jumped in the womb and was excited. The same word from the Hebrew and Greek translation is baby. In the womb or being carried out. Life actually begins at conception. Life begins when that one cell joins the other and it splits. That's something living. We know from our modern technology now that a baby has a beating heart within 20 days. Nerves. When that baby is being aborted, it feels it. You say it don't hurt nobody. That's a life. A lot of times people look and say, well, that's a man's thing. A woman, you don't know what a woman goes through. It's a woman's right to abort a baby. Where'd she get that right?
The father has just as many rights to that baby as the mama does.
Right? Yeah. Right. God didn't give her the right to abort the baby. That's her life. We do not have a right to murder. Go back here, we point out, we're going to kind of go through what took place in Egypt here, just show how this particular one case benefited all the way down by this child not being killed.
I want to say something. You're talking about we don't have the right to murder. Abortion is legal, but if someone's riding down the road and causes an accident, and a woman in the accident is pregnant and the baby dies, you get charged for murder.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it a double standard there?
That's right. It is a double standard right there. In an act of
Murder, why is an abortion?
in an act of criminal act, a robbery, and you kill a pregnant woman, you're charged with 2 murders. In most states, now there are some states you're not, but most states you are. In this state you are.
Even if the baby is the only one that dies, and the mother
You still get charged for murder.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But
If-
abortion is legal.
Yeah, you're right.
This is one of the subjects that gets my blood boiling.
Well, when he
I
said
mean,
God didn't give her the right, the government gives the woman the right. But then the government turns around and contradicts itself too.
There again is where I'm going back. We as a church have failed in this, but not standing up for it. But this little bunch in here, what can we do? But the whole church across this country, yes. But we take it like, when we're standing up for something like this, we have the mentality, it's just me. We have to get the concept and we realize there are others out here that are the same mind and worship the same God that has brought life to this world. It isn't just us. It isn't just me. It is us. It is the church. Not just the Baptist church. It is the church, the believing church that believes in the Lord Jesus Christ, that we are one body together. And we need to stand for this.
Well, Gilbert, you say it, the church as a whole, yes. However, we do have to look at it not only as Crossroads, but individually, because I was one of those many years ago that never believed they would allow them to take prayer out of school. And I sat there and in my head, I'm one person, they'll never be able to do this. I never wrote a congressman. I never talked to a representative. I never did anything but sit back and say, they'll never be able to do this. Well, guess what? Had I or other people that felt that way stood up, and others, as you said, realized, you know, they feel this way. Let's band together. It wouldn't have happened. But, and I take responsibility for a lot of those things. Because I did that. I sat there and said it never happened. I said they'd never do what they did to the Pledge of Allegiance, taking God out. Never do this. They'll never take God out of the courthouse. They've done every single one of them. And I was as much fault as those people that stood there and either protested against having it in there. Because we are I feel, we're the majority. But we're acting like we are the minority. And like we can't get anything done. Well, we need to join together and stop this. Stop the madness. Really.
Look who's demonstrating today. It's not what I call the good people. It's the people, crybabies, the sore losers, those who want something different. They get up in arms. The old sayings, back from the horse and buggy days, it's the squeaking wheel that gets the oil. They're squeaking. They're hollering, acting the fool. And yet they're going to get something.
They have.
Hmm.
Look at all the strides they've made against us.
Sat back and let it happen.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
we wasn't out there doing this when Obama got elected.
No.
No, look what happened under his administration to Christian life. He devalued the church, he devalued marriage, money too, but he devalued America as far as citizenship, pride in America. I didn't hear no protest. I mean, I run my mouth a little, but what good did that do? A few people did too, but yeah, we do. And I know I'm preaching to the choir when I'm saying this in many ways.
Sometimes we need to wake up.
But
All it took was one woman, Madeline O'Hare, took one woman saying, you know what, that's messing with my rights. We just can't have prayer. One woman started that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she got what she wanted.
And then she got what she deserved. But yes, she got.
Really?
Now I remember this when prayer was first taken out of school, and I was in school then. We went back, when it was announced that summer, went back that fall. At that time, they put you all in one big auditorium the first day of school and started laying out what you'd do. Principal was Bill Reeves. And he got up that day in the auditorium there, welcomed us back. Next phrase out of his mouth after welcoming us back to school, I guess you all have heard about the prayer decision in the Supreme Court this summer. We no longer can have prayer in school. That don't affect us here. When I'll be led in prayer by the Reverend J.H. Smith. I remember the preacher. We had prayer. We had prayer all the way as long as I was in school there. It was against the law, but we still had prayer in the auditorium every time we met in that auditorium for something. We were defiant. So I learned defiance at an early age.
Thank God for the students in the schools who will stand up and say, I'll pray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a student could still pray. They can't do anything about that. But lo and behold, if a faculty member utters anything, we can tell birth of the child here that's placed in the little basket, the peach basket. The word goes back, means ark. But anyway, seemed like it was providential there that the Pharaoh's daughter would be there at that time. They set up. This is a divine work of God in this particular case. Goes out there. Miriam, older sister. Aaron was the older brother too. We assume Miriam would be about 12 years old at this time, maybe like that. Aaron would have been about 3, his brother. And the Pharaoh's daughters went down to bathe at the Nile. When she opened it, she saw a child. The little boy was crying. She felt sorry and said, "This one is Hebrew's boy." She felt sorry when she saw the baby. That's kind of your first instinct. You see a little baby crying. You want to help. You want to do something right there. It's a natural, especially a female instinct. Help it. She knew this is a Hebrew child. She's the Pharaoh's daughter.
I guess that's why it's so hard for me to imagine a woman destroying her baby. You know, as much as I love my children, I can't imagine them saying, don't want this baby, let's just get rid of it. I can't see how anybody can come to that.
If we had one little baby sitting here out of the nursery, this size, every one of us in here, there's no way we could hurt that baby, right? How about when it's this size, still in one? Is it not the same baby? They call her the fetus. Trying to take the life away from it.
They don't understand a baby is such the greatest gift from God you can have.
Precious. It's life.
You just don't know how this touches me. The whole thing with abortion, me and Danny can't have kids. We lost one in 2003, and then I about lost her 2 weeks after that. The only thing that saved her was a hysterectomy. We can't have kids, and we want kids. We want more. And it just absolutely makes my blood boil when it comes to this abortion crap. And the women that act like, oh, who give you the right to what I can and can't do with my body?
It's my body.
Think about it before you lay down and get pregnant.
Right.
There's people
Right.
here that want kids and can't have them. And you want to kill one. You got other options. Put it up for adoption.
There's people out here who love it.
Bryce is adopted. And that is the greatest blessing I've ever had. You know, second, the greatest blessing I've ever had. Dana would be my second.
Mm-hmm.
That son is the best blessing to me. That boy has changed my life and done things for me through God that nobody could ever do, that I couldn't have done on my own. And these women want to preach and march, and who gives, think about it before you lay down. The father of that baby has just as many rights to that baby as you do, whether it's in your body or not. Don't even, I'm going to quit right there.
We need to get Jackie's enthusiasm here. He's right.
And not only do the mother and father, but a baby is a gift from God. God has more rights than any of a baby.
Mm-hmm. That's a life.
Pets have more rights.
Yeah.
than babies do.
Kick a dog and see where it gets you.
Yeah. Go hunting at the wrong time of year. You lose your truck, your gun, your license, and you go to jail. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the deer's pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, mess up and kill a canine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But a baby.
Where are our values? We need to prioritize and get godly values. And I'm saying this all seriously. Which way would God put it? From the very beginning, right back in Genesis, He told us in the beginning, multiply, have dominion over the earth. So well, Johnny on spot, when the Pharaoh's daughter drags the little baby out, then his sister said to the Pharaoh's daughter, now first let me point out something. This little Hebrew girl, Miriam, she comes up there when the Pharaoh's daughter's got this basket up looking at this cute little baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she comes up to the Pharaoh's daughter, this Hebrew girl. That took courage for her to come up to go to this princess. Because what? Hebrew? That's trash to them. Kick it out. So the courage, she wasn't even supposed to really speak to her. But should I go call a woman from the Hebrews to nurse the boy for you? Go, the Pharaoh's daughter told her. So the girl went and called the boy's mother.
Now, right there, anybody that can't see that that's a God thing, because just what you were talking about with the Hebrews, they were slaves. There were scads of Hebrew women around there, and they were having all kinds of babies. When they talk about the midwife, for her to go to Moses' mother, I mean, that's different.
Divine intervention from the very beginning of this. Now, I don't believe God micromanages us at all, because He gives us freedom of choice, freedom of life. We have the right to choose or reject it. Go back to Genesis, though. What did He do? He created us in His image. Remember that. So He must have thought a lot of us to make us a lot like Him. He created us in His image. So then, I think that's why He wants to preserve human life so much. We are in His image, therefore He loves us. And we should love Him. So Mama, the Hebrew boy's mother, come and took the baby. And the Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay you wages. Mama gets paid. Oh, how good can this be? So the woman took the boy and nursed him. When the child grew older, She brought him back to the Pharaoh's daughter and became her son. She named him Moses because she said, I drew him out of the water.
But mother made the greatest sacrifice in that she gave up her son so he could live. She got to keep him for a little while.
Mhm.
She had to give him away, but it was to save his life.
Yeah, but she didn't know that she was even gonna be able to keep him
That's exactly right.
when she
No.
put him in that Nile, and that.
No, she trusted God when she put him in that basket.
Exactly.
Like the Lord said, she trusted God.
God's around blessing. Let her keep the child and let her get paid for it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Financial support.
And she knew once that child got into the palace that he would be provided for.
Mhm.
He wouldn't be a slave any longer.
Moses is raised as a Pharaoh's son. Now, we get into the Pharaoh's family. This may not have been his exact daughter, may have been a granddaughter or daughter of one of the others, something other, but it was in the Pharaoh's household. Now, the kids are, until they were about 10 years old, they pretty much just played around. They were well kept, well fed, and then 10, they started their education basically. Moses was raised to be a leader. He had the best education. I looked up a little about Moses at the time, but at 10, they started teaching them into the government. Now, Egypt, at that country, was very much well, at that time, it would have been considered probably the most civilized country around. They had libraries. They had all kinds of research. They were the engineering country of the time. They built things. Moses was able to receive the best education that was available at that time by being part of the Pharaoh's family. And remember, he was set to become one of the ruling people. As we say, Moses lived 40 years of his life thinking he was somebody. Then he spent 40 years of his life finding out he was nobody. Then the last 40 years he spent being somebody. That's just what I thought about there. It wasn't part of the lesson, but we'll put it in there anyway. The point here, life is precious. God sets a lot of things in motion that is divine. We can see this was divine in the saving of this baby. Contemporary Jewish people will probably relate the edict of the Pharaoh to Hitler trying to kill the Jews in World War II. And Hitler did execute over 6 million of them. However, Stalin over in Russia got rid of about 13 million Christians. We don't think about that, do we? World War II, there were more civilians killed than there were soldiers through the extermination and the power plays that were taking place. But everywhere, even today, you'll find the divine work of God someplace in His handiwork here to preserve and bring someone to the forefront to take care of His people and rule.
He always protects the remnant. There's always a remnant there that He protects.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there'll always be something. But what we need to remember, life is precious. And we need to take value of it. We have our prayer request. Any other comments or